What day is it? You got it. It's hump day. Yes. And we are halfway through our week, and the weekend is in sight, my friend. And on Monday, we were talking about the different aspects of us in relationship with others. So I wanted to drill down on that. Let's jump into a screen so I can share more with you. Okay, so just a quick refresher. In the first quadrant, open, this is information we know about ourselves and other people know about us. So our family and friends, pretty much, they get it. Now, the next one over, quadrant 2, we talk about your blind spot. These are things that are not known to you, but known to other people. And I gave the example of, well, maybe you're very, very talkative and you don't notice it so much because, well, you've probably done it all your life. But other people like, you know, watch out for Dave, man. He'll talk your ear off. Then the third quadrant is the hidden. These are things that are known to us, but not known to anybody else. And this could be, your desire not to share about maybe your spirituality, your religion, your politics, all these other things that you probably have a concern that would cause conflict in the relationship. And it's really, you think in your mind, it's nobody's business. So you don't share it, right? And then the last quadrant is the quadrant of the unknown. It's not known to you, it's not known to others. I gave the example of, hey, you on a whim, you went to the local junior college and took a class in art, and you discovered that you are actually a really good artist, right? So in the first quadrant, we call this our public identity or our persona. It's what we project out into the world. In the unknown self, this is called our unawareness, our lack of self-awareness. So we need to maybe do checks. And what I mean by that is ask friends, family members. Sometimes, they may not share with you or be very good at opening up your unawareness simply because they have been with you for long periods of time and they've accepted you as you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But as we go into a public realm, if you will, we want to get feedback so that we can ask ourselves, is it okay for me to be this way? If this is how I'm being perceived, right? The belief perceived dynamic. If I'm okay with being perceived this way, then do nothing. If you're being perceived in a way that you don't want to be perceived, then perhaps that's an opportunity for, say, some behavior modification. And we'll be touching on that in later episodes of Cup of Joe. And then, of course, the third quadrant down below, the hidden quadrant, is what we call the facade, our secret self, right? These are things that we are not sharing with anyone. They're our little secrets. I'm not going to say dark little secrets because they may not be all that dark. They're just not stuff that we want to share. Nothing wrong with that either. Now, the last one is probably the most exciting, is things that you don't know about you and other people don't know about you. And we call this the undiscovered self. And this is the quadrant of discovery. When I was, as I was growing up into a young adult, I started working when I was like 9, delivering papers. And then I worked at a friend's gas station, and I worked in fast food. I worked for the Boys and Girls Club. I had a lot of different jobs. And when I share that with people, they're like, man, you've had a lot of different jobs. And I'm like, well, yeah. And how come? Well, I'd get into something to see what it was like. I'd learn as much as I could until I got to that point where I was kind of bored. And I'm like, okay, I gotta move on to something else. Right. So in a way, you might look at that as problematic. It would be if it happened in my, later adult life. As an employee for a Fortune 500 company, I spent 15 years with the corporate 500 company that I was with, because I was in a learning environment. I was constantly learning new things, and I loved the people who were there because they were very supportive and just amazing people. There's so much to learn, right? You see, the more we put ourselves out there to learn, the more we learn about ourselves in terms of what we like and what we don't like. Makes sense, right? But that's not something that ends when you reach a certain age, or at least it shouldn't. We should be constantly going out and doing things new and different than what we're used to, kind of inch out of our comfort zone. I mean, I got into rock climbing, I did several cave expeditions, I did a lot of exciting things that broadened my experience. And that experience molds over to other aspects of my life. Some of those experiences I used in my professional life. As a team trainer, I was able to come up with, a team building program where we took an entire team underground for half a day and had exercises for them to go through. And that would put them in a very vulnerable, right? Because you're underground. If you're claustrophobic, and I am slightly claustrophobic, but there was a positive, cool airflow in the caves that we were in. So I felt okay. I felt this feeling of space, right? So we'd take people down in there and we had different exercises for them to go through, because when you are that far out of your comfort zone, there's so much learning available to you. And we go through the experiential learning exercises of an experience and then have them reflect, what did you think about that experience? What did you learn? How did it feel? And then sharing it with the group and talking about what are some of the common threads that the team had and how that might affect them back at the workplace. So it's an excellent quadrant, this self-discovery. And I encourage you to be adventuresome. I don't mean you to have to jump out of a plane or something like that, unless that's something you want to do. But try new things, different, even if it's, you walk to the park, find another way to walk to the park, find a different path, see what's on that path, be observant, and then reflect in terms of, I always do this every day. I reflect at the end of the day of what I did, what I accomplished, what were the wins, what were the good takeaways that are what I call my gold nuggets, and what are some of the things that weren't so good that I recognize and I put on a list, because I'm a J, right? Going from back to our Jungian archetypes. But I put it on a list and say, these are the things that I want to avoid. And invariably what happens is I end up creating a list of things that I want to do. That's my sense of control. And then I automatically avoid the other things because they didn't make that list. So, in summary, there are things that you know about yourself and that your friends know. This is your public self. Are you in it from the standpoint of what you see is what you get? Or are there things about you that you would love to bring into your public image, your public identity, your persona that don't exist? Make a list of those. Ask yourself why. Why do you hold back? Why do you not share that with other people? Because sometimes we think, oh, well, that's silly. But we don't realize how much other people's lives could be enriched or become more open because of what you shared. The next quadrant, the assignment is go out and ask people that know you at work, your colleagues, your peers, your team, and say, tell me something you think I don't know about me. You could make it, you know what? You could make it, well, it'd have to be a pretty advanced team because they'd have to have a high level of disclosure comfort. But you could do that with your team. Each person goes around and says, I'm open for feedback. Tell me what I don't know about me. All right. Then the unknown to others, but known to yourself. Do a little inventory. Write down, even if it's cryptic, write down those things that you don't really share with anybody. And, kind of reflect on those things. If there are things that you perceive as, bad or embarrassing, then you just solidify that those are not things that you want to repeat in the future, right? Do you see how this works as a really good self diagnostic tool? And it does have an impact on those around you. I hope that you will take this. You can play the video over and over again for the assignments, but I want you to at least do a rough draft. Go through, ask yourselves those important questions, and see where it takes you. I guarantee that it will enrich your life. That's it. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Have an awesome Thursday, an amazing Friday, and enjoy your weekend. And I will see you on our next Monday morning Cup of Joe.